Big international story. There's now an all-out tariff war between the United States of America and China. US President Donald Trump has announced an additional 50% tariff on China less than 48 hours after Beijing announced a tit-for-tat 34% tariff on US exports to China. So reports say China is now considering a multi-front economic pushback, including, according to some reports in social media in China, that they may ban all Hollywood films in China. We get you more in this report.
China's 34% tit-for-tat tariffs on American goods has infuriated Donald Trump. The US president has threatened to slap another 50% tariff on China if Beijing doesn't withdraw the levy by Tuesday.
With China, as you know, against my statement, they put a 34% tariff on above what their ridiculous tariffs were already. And I said, if that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on.
Let's break down the mathematics of Trump's tariffs on China. With a fresh 50% tariff threat looming that comes on top of the 34% reciprocal tariffs slapped on April 2nd. And an early 20% for failing to curb fentanyl flow into the United States. The total tariff can go up to 104%. This is not taking into account the pre-existing tariffs of 7.5% to 25% from Trump's first term as president. China is unfazed, calling Trump's tariffs blackmail and disruption of the global economic order. The Xi Jinping administration says they will not hesitate to fight back.
The Chinese government strongly condemns and firmly opposes such actions. The US approach is a typical act of unilateralism, protectionism, and economic bullying, which causes harm to others while backfiring on itself.
China is considering a multi-front economic pushback. First in line is a ban on Hollywood films. This will hit US studios as their films earned nearly $585 million in China in 2024 alone. China may also suspend its fentanyl cooperation with the United States, target US intellectual property benefits, and finally impose curbs on trade in services.
Pressure, threats and blackmail are not the right ways to deal with China. China will surely take necessary measures to resolutely safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. If US disregards the interests of both countries and the international community and insists on engaging in tariff war and trade war, China will fight to the end.
The tariff war has reportedly led to a divide between Donald Trump and his advisor Elon Musk. Reports say the tech mogul has been privately recommending Trump to reverse his tariffs on Chinese imports. This comes just a day after Musk batted for zero tariffs between the United States and the European Union.
From now until I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America.
China and Donald Trump are both unwilling to bend. Will this trade war shake up markets further? Bureau Report, India Today.
And I quickly want to cut across to Business Today TV's Associate Editor Chetan Bhutani, who joins us for more on this. So Chetan, is this now a game of brinkmanship? 34%, now America is warning there'll be another 50% tariffs on China. And this escalation would only spell trouble, not just for China and the US, but will it have a cascading effect on the rest of the globe?
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. You know, there are 3 to 4 key major issues that needs to be addressed alongside the tariff war with the China and, of course, with the United States. We see, particularly in the sectors like electronics, manufacturing, and agriculture, because these companies will definitely have to reroute their sourcing and production. In fact, we see increased costs for businesses and consumers. In fact, higher tariffs are driving up the cost of goods traded between the US and the China, with ripple effects increasing pricing globally for raw material, components, and finished products like smartphones, vehicles, and of course auto components and apparels as well. Well, global financial markets, as we all know and have been aggressively reporting on it, are in a state of great volatility. We see oil prices hovering around 64 to 62 odd dollars per barrel because the recession fears are looming around. Plus, lastly, Gaurav, I'd like to conclude by saying the shift in trade alliances. We see
Okay.
China's export controls on rare earth elements and focus on diversified trade partners definitely emerges as a good story and a bright spot for India. But yes, we'll have to wait and watch as to the other markets are responding to the retaliatory tariff because Trump, as we know, is actually looking forward to a retaliatory tariff. But we'll have to wait and watch as to what these 3 to 4 key elements work out.
Keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. For the moment, Chetan, many thanks. Now, after Black Monday on Dalal Street, Tuesday marked a new beginning for markets in India. So Dalal Street showed signs of recovery on Tuesday after the stormy start to the week. Despite that sharp fall on Monday, Nifty managed to stay above the 22,000 level, which is considered an important level. Sensex jumped 902 points, reached 74,000. Now, that marks a rise of about 1.5% for both the indices. Government sources have told India today that the Prime Minister's office is monitoring the impact on Indian market share, on the Indian share market, and is working towards attempting to cushion the impact on the Indian economy. And sources are saying PSUs have been asked to distribute profits to investors. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, had a conversation with the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. The two nations have agreed that it's extremely important for both India and the United States of America to speedily conclude a bilateral trade agreement soon, hopefully by fall. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said the government is in touch with various sectors. He added that India sees tariffs as an opportunity to gain from. Now, Piyush Goyal also said that India does not find China's pricing to be fair.
अलग-अलग सेक्टर की अलग-अलग भावनाएं हैं। मेरी चर्चा तो लगातार निरंतर सबसे चलती रहती है। साधारणतः भारत की इंडस्ट्री को इसमें अपॉर्चुनिटीज दिखती है। कॉन्फिडेंट है हम कि इसमें भारत का भलाई होगा। प्राइम मिनिस्टर लॉन्च स्टार्टअप इंडिया मूवमेंट 9 years ago. And we've come a long way. From 400 startups, we are now 170,000 plus. The country is proud of the good work the startups have done.